Fans FC. And today we're going to have an interesting topic. We have an interesting topic, and that is World Cup host. Kind of talking about them as a whole in general, but obviously we want to hyper focus more so on the 2026 World Cup. Obviously, the first time ever we're having three host nations: Canada, United States, and Mexico. And we kind of want to discuss a little bit of the expectations that people have as host nations. Obviously, the past few host nations haven't performed super well. We had the likes of Qatar, which was terrible. Russia, Brazil, while played well, got absolutely embarrassed in the semifinals, one of the most historic losses in all of world football. And then 2010, South Africa, not really doing much. But we kind of want to talk about this today and how we feel the USA and Mexico might perform this upcoming World Cup. What are those crowds going to look like? Are they going to get the amount of support? And can we potentially see what we saw maybe in 2002 with South Korea? But yeah, Will, I'll let you lead the show today. Yeah. What do you got for us?
Yeah, guys, like Julian said, we're going to break it down. I got three different categories for us. First category, Julian had mentioned it earlier, expectations. What is the fan base? What are the players? What is the coach? What is the general nature thinking? What is the expectation for this team? What is the reality is going to be our second division as well, our second point. What is this team looking like at this moment? How are the players playing abroad? What's the mojo like going into this team? And then kind of third topic, I just kind of want to break it down with y'all. Kind of talk about some players to look out for. Maybe as the coaches are going to be on the hot seat, what all we can expect from our three host nations overall. But yeah, let's get right into it, boys. Let's go ahead and start off expectations. Start off with the main host nation, our country that we live in, the big red, white, and blue, baby, United States. Adam, kick it off. What are you thinking? What is the expectation for these guys?
Oh, they need to win it all because apparently they got Heung-min Son playing for them now. Julian, you're muted, but I don't know if you guys.
According to LA, wait, did you guys hear that intro at all?
Yeah, did the intro.
I remember you
good. Yeah,
that's weird.
That's
okay,
funny.
That was weird.
Yeah, but for those of you who aren't up to date, and it was a little bit of a gaffe made by an official in the city of Los Angeles, thinking that a player signing for a team means that they play for your national team. I don't even know. That's just a dumb thing to make. I don't even think that's like a soccer thing, to say, like, oh, that's just dumb because, like, in what other sport does that happen? None of them. Like, what the hell? So I think the expectations are going to be very high, though. If we're being serious, I think the bare minimum used to be get out of the group. I feel like that's different now, especially as the host nation. You have a sense with bringing in Pochettino that they're not content for just making it out of the group. They actually want to compete with the top teams. So this is a very interesting dynamic because I don't think we've had a U.S. national team with this high expectation before. Will they deliver? I don't know. That's the thing is, like, I feel like, yes, they have some good players, but how much better is this U.S. team than a U.S. team 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago? I think it's better for sure. I don't think it's miles better. And you have a lot of talent in a lot of countries. This isn't like every other sport where, there's just certain teams you can just walk. I mean, there's going to be trouble everywhere. So the U.S. is one of those teams. I feel like their problems have been they play down to their opponents a lot. They could be in a big matchup and they'll actually look really good. But then you're playing like, I don't know, freaking Haiti or something like that. And then they struggle all evening. It's weird. So the expectations are high. I don't know. I think maybe it's going to feel a little bit more disappointing if the expectations are too high. So I think people need to just look at the team and kind of forget that they're hosting and they're going to have, all their matches basically played in home territory. I think that can cause a little bit of, that can exceed expectations a little bit too much. for what the U.S. is really capable of doing.
Yeah. Julian?
In terms of expectations, and we just want to say that, and we talk about expectations from the fans, the players, the coach, everybody. Obviously, the expectation is, I think, you got to make it to the round of 16. We're in an expanded World Cup format. We're in the 48 teams, I believe. It's no longer just the top 2 advance. It's like the top 2 and then like 8 of the third place teams. So if you don't make it out of the group, it is an absolute disaster. I don't care what country you are. You could be freaking Zambia, or you could be Thailand, or whoever. If you don't make it out of the group, like, there's just so many opportunities to advance. It's crazy. So I think for anybody who gets grouped, it's a disappointment, especially in the U.S. Gosh, I can't speak. Especially in their case. So to me, get out. Round of 32. Depending on how things shake out, there's a good chance you're not going to get a super competitive team. You're probably going to get an equal level team, to be honest with you, equal or slightly better. And the expectation is you're at home. You have the home advantage. Obviously, it depends what that nation that you're going up against. If it's a South American team, forget about it.
You ain't getting no
chance.
You ain't getting no home field advantage.
Potentially, like, say they face the Netherlands again. Let's use that as an example. You're going to have that home field advantage. But it's really hard this team is such an enigma because it's so hard to know what we're going to get from them, especially what we've seen over the past 2 years. Poach's tender so far has been so disappointing and underwhelming. I don't really know. I mean, we're good into the reality section, but I will say, at least in terms of expectations, it should be make it to round of 16. And quite honestly, I think that's kind of embarrassing. If you would have told me this 3 years ago, I'd be like, expectations is quarterfinals. Get to the quarters. But after what I've seen, I think expectations, get out of the group, play, 5 games? And that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Just like I said, to my point, we need to temper the expectations a little bit. Yes, they're going to be higher than they were before, but we can't expect too much out of a team that hasn't really given us a reason to expect more. Just because we're hosting,
Listen, I agree with Julian. I think for the team, it's round of 16 expectation. That seems the level that they're at. Now, if you were to ask me 2-3 months ago, fan-wise expectation, I'd be saying semifinals right now. I mean, oh my God, dude, you go on the U.S. men's national team, fan page. You have fans talking out of their ass saying, why are we not making a semifinals? Quarterfinals should be guaranteed. And Adam alluded to it earlier. This is obviously a home World Cup, and this will be a complete home World Cup for the U.S. men's national team if they can make it to a final. They will never play a game outside of the U.S. So I think it's intriguing in that aspect. I do agree that the U.S. men's national team, and it feels like Poch is kind of gearing towards a round of 16. The way this team is performing, and obviously, like Julian said, we'll get to in a second in reality, that expectation could be going back a little bit. But I do think a round of 16 for the players is suited for them. But let's go ahead and move it down south of the border to our boys El3, Mexico. Listen, I'll just go ahead and give my 2 cents real quick, guys. I think expectation for this team, kind of similar to the U.S., fan base is a semifinal. This is a quarterfinal team. This is a team that should be making it all the way there. I think Mexico is realistic. I think they're one step ahead of the U.S. A quarterfinal run is not out of the books. I don't think it's likely. I don't personally see it happening, but I would go anywhere in between a round of 16 quarterfinals. I'm stuck in between those two. What are your guys' thoughts?
I'll go first. I don't think of quarterfinals. I don't know if this team. I feel like this team is like one injury away from crumbling, and that's what worries me with this Mexico team, is that they're not very deep, and God forbid something happens to one of their players. That really worries me, and I'm not entirely sure how high the upside is for this Mexican team. I feel like this Mexican team that we're currently seeing is probably peaking considering their generation. I might get a ton of flack for that, but I feel like considering that they're still trying to figure this thing out and what they have, I'm not super high on it, to be honest with you. I'm really worried for them. Obviously, the expectations in Mexico are immensely high. I would say it's some of the highest expectations in all of world football. I mean, you're talking about a ravaged fan base with hundreds of millions of fans. It's so many, and they're going to be at home even in the U.S. Let's be real. Obviously, they're going to be playing in Mexico in the Azteca, but any games played in the South, it's a wrap. Honestly, any games played anywhere, I think they're going to travel. They're going to be there. It's going to be a home game no matter where they go. And I believe that they're going to have 1 or 2 knockout rounds in Mexico. So that's the advantage they have on their side. But quite honestly, I just don't think this team has enough oomph to make it to that next level of a quarterfinals. I think this team just has round of 16 written all over them. And that's what they are. They've always been that way. They usually always get out of the group every World Cup. And they usually get knocked out round of 16 with the occasional quarterfinal run here or there throughout their history. But they've never been able to truly make it to that semifinal or consistently make it to a quarterfinal. This team is always just a team that's competitive in group stage, makes it out of the group stage, and then that's kind of it. So I think they get one more knockout win, but this team just has round of 16 all over it.
Adam?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, it really isn't too long ago where we were, having discussions. Or at least I feel like it wasn't too long ago where we're talking about how people are saying, this is one of the worst Mexican teams they've had for a while. They're leaving the door wide open for Canada and US to just to compete with them pretty evenly in the Confederation. And you can make an argument also that teams in the past World Cups, the Mexican teams have been better, and yet they still do exactly what Julian said, is they can make it out of the group pretty consistently, and maybe win a game, but that's pretty much it. You don't really see them in the quarters or the semis, even though they have that fan base that really, really is behind the team. I mean, it's one of the most passionate fan bases in the world. So the expectations are always going to be up there. And I also want to say that I think that a big expectation for them, at least in my opinion, is I think they need to win. If they are playing a game at the Azteca, it needs to be a win. Like the group stage. It's 100%. Just such a that. I mean, yes, they're playing in the south of the U.S. I think is going to be a big home field advantage. But you just think about the Azteca, and you think about even U.S. teams where you really looked at the Mexican roster and you look at the U.S. roster, and you're like, this team can win in Mexico for sure. And it's a slog every time. It is just such a difficult place to play. So Mexico are going to need to really take advantage of any game that they play in the Azteca, or it's going to be a short tournament for them.
Yeah, completely agree, guys. Let's go to north of the border, Canada. This is going to be an interesting team. Oh, you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Say Will.
Oh, I got y'all. Yeah. So take it north of the border. Expectations. Julian, if you want to kick it off.
Yeah, man, I don't know. This team, I feel like, is slowly regressing. I have a hard time feeling really high about this team. Obviously, in the previous World Cup, they completely fizzled out. They couldn't get a point. They didn't look good. Obviously, we're coming into this World Cup. Everybody's a little bit older. They're a little bit more advanced. They're playing at better levels. This is a better team. It should be on every single aspect. But quite honestly, I think the one thing that really worries about me, and I'm not super high on them, it's Jesse Marsch. I feel like Jesse Marsch, like everybody says, and I agree with them, he starts out super strong. Yeah. He has this at Leeds. He had this amazing start in the Premier League, and then immediately led to their demise in relegation. And same thing. Well, he immediately fizzled out at not Salzburg. Salzburg, he was okay, but in Leipzig. Gosh, the other Red Bull team. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know. I feel like he got exposed a little bit in this Gold Cup and in Nations League. It felt like they couldn't get anything done against Mexico, against the U.S. I mean, obviously they beat the U.S. in the third place matter, but it was a third place match. How much thought can you really put into that? And I think Canada's really good in CONCACAF. I really struggle to rate them on the world stage.
Yeah.
And I feel like I need to be proven wrong. To me, Canada gets out of the group, but I don't know if they win the next game. So to me, my expectation, first off, the main expectations of Canada is win a game, win a World Cup game. They've never won a World Cup game.
True.
So you have to win one, and this team is talented enough to get out of the group, especially with potentially a third place team getting out. They have to get out. The expectation is get out of the group, get your first game. But I just don't see much after the knockout round. I think they get bounced right there.
Yeah,
Adam?
similar feelings there. I think, it's one of those things. I feel like they have done very well in recent times of competing, and at least, they showed that they absolutely deserve to be there. They're not just a random host nation that would never qualify regardless. They're a different Canada, but it takes time and it takes depth. I don't think they have the depth. They have some really standout performers and players that can make the difference in certain games. But like Julian said, I think, with the talent they have and being host, they have to get out of the group. I think that's pretty much a given for anybody almost. I mean, there are some teams I'm sure you're going to look at, like, we were talking about it in a different episode about, you were mentioning Uzbekistan, like a team like that. They're going to be in the happy to be here category.
Like Finland?
Finland. Yeah, like Gabon.
If you guys
they'll be happy to be there.
Reference, please watch
Some
our World
outrageous
Cup
takes.
Cinderella video. Please watch our World Cup Cinderella video if you guys don't get that reference. But continue, Adam.
No, but no.
Please go tell Adam why Gabon will not make the World Cup if you're
They probably won't. That was a fun one. I'm more going to defend the Finland take. So you want to fight me on that one? That one I will fight on. But no, this Canada, they're one of those, like, you think that they're happy to be there, but I think that being the host nation kind of just tips that over the edge. They have enough players. They've proven that they can do it. So anything less than getting out of the group will be seen as performing under expectation.
Yeah, agree, guys. Listen, you guys already kind of said it well. Canada, I think round of 32, I think that suits them well. Jesse Marshball is not going to get them far. Adam alluded to it earlier as well. This is not the Canada of our grandparents' age, guys. This is a more developed team. This is a team that has a lot of different pieces. This is not just a team that relies on Dwayne De Rosario. So, interesting team. But we will move it on, and we will go to reality. Let's stick it with Canada. Let's stick it with the boys from up north. Julian, what is the reality of this team at the World Cup for you?
This is the team for me. Reality, like I kind of already mentioned it, where I'm like, I feel like at least my expectations kind of meet the reality, and maybe, like I said, the fan base might think differently. But one thing I have noticed about the Canadian fan base is that they're very, what's the word? They're not super high on their team necessarily of being able to reach the limits that they think they can reach. And I'm pessimistic. That's the word. I feel like the reality kind of meets their expectations. Like I think they get out. I mean, you are at home. You should have a home crowd for the most part, and you advance. I mean, that's kind of the reality. But I do think Jesse Marsh is really going to get exposed in this tournament. I think he's really going to get exposed against higher level opposition, higher level coaching. I think this is a guy who always has gotten exposed. And I mean, I just feel like they better hope. If they get matched in a group of death, I don't see Canada making it out. If it's a group of death. Obviously, if it's an average group, they should. But if they just get the fucking worst draw imaginable, if they get that Italy pick in the pot 4, oh man, like that's going to be rough. So yeah, man, that's kind of my reality. I think they get out of the group and that's it.
Yeah. Adam?
Yeah, it might be a little bit more grim than that. I think it really does depend on the group. I think that there are a lot of realities in which they can get drawn a group where they struggle and they can't make it out of the group. Um, so for me, I think the reality is they have more than a 50% chance to get out of the group. I think all things considered, but it could very much be a toss up. And getting out of the group, assuming that they do so, I don't see them going much further than that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Adam's take. I think this is a 50-50 draw for these guys. I just don't see them really competing with the likes of a Germany, or a Morocco, who could be a pot two opponent. I mean, we saw even in the last World Cup, Morocco swept the floor on these guys. And this is when Morocco was a Cinderella team, when they were under the radar. So I think it's tough. I hate to say it for all of our Drake fans and all our Justin Bieber fans, but it's just the reality for these guys. I think a group stage or barely squeaking by one of those third places, one of those eights. So we'll see. But let's take it down back south of the border to Mexico. What is the reality for these guys? Adam, I'll kick it off to you first.
I think, if I'm being completely honest, I think given that they will be playing at the Azteca, they'll have a game there. I think it's pretty much a guarantee they get out of the group. How well they do in the group, I think, kind of like how I was saying, Canada is like a toss-up. Depending on the draw, depending on who they get in the group, of whether or not they'll advance, I think that it's pretty. I would bet that Mexico get out of the group for sure. But I think that their round of 16, or not round of 16, their first knockout round. I'm so used to the old fucking World Cup with no teams in it, where you're the round of 16 or whatever it is, or the Euro with no teams in it. But you guys get what I'm saying. I think that that's going to be the toss-up game for Mexico is that first knockout match, depending on, do they win the group or do they just get out of the group? I think that's going to be the deciding factor. So I would say they get out, but that they could very, very easily just get bounced right after in the first knockout game.
Yeah, I'm going to say the reality is if they're playing at home, it's going to be very scary. I think also, too, if they're playing in the United States in specific cities, I don't know any fan. Honestly, I don't care if you're freaking, let's say, what's this, like Switzerland or something like that. Obviously, the upper echelon, they're probably going to lose to, but I feel like no matter where they play, it's going to be immensely tough to play against Mexico. This is a team that just does so well at home. And like you said, whether they're playing in the Azteca, if they're going to play in Monterrey in that stadium, they're just going to have so much support. It's going to be insane. It's truly going to be a home game for them. But I still come back to, like, this isn't the most talented team. So in the reality of it, I just feel like it's going to be more of the same. It's going to be they get out of the group. I even predict that Mexico might get a big upset in the group stage. They might beat they would be pot one. They might beat a big team in their group. I see them getting a result at home. And honestly, if they continue to play at home up until, I think, round of 16, like I said, they could make it that far to round of 16. Like, obviously, like what you're saying, it depends on who they match up against. But to me, they have the potential to probably make it the farthest and they're just coming in pretty hot right now. I mean, they just won 2 trophies this year already. They're feeling really confident about the team. They're playing this little bit more pragmatic approach. Aguirre is the team and the fan base is all kind of rallying around him. It just feels like they're kind of set up to have a decent performing World Cup. I don't know if they're going to shock anybody. I'm not thinking that they're going to catch anybody by surprise, but I do think you're going to see some great performances, and I think you're going to see them fight, and they're going to play really well.
Yeah, I can buy that. I think them having the just real quick, I think that's a pretty fair take, because it is, without a doubt, they do have the strongest host advantage out of any other team. It's just, yeah, like like I didn't even think about that, but because the Azteca is such a feared and revered place to play. But
And they're a
Monterrey would
competitive
be
team.
yeah, but Monterrey would. That's a great point. That's not a cakewalk either. So as far as Mexico playing at home, that really could make it difficult for any team. So I can buy that take for sure.
Will's gone, but Will's go to the USA. I'm gonna flat out say it, dude. This is shaping out to be really bad with all the drama, players not showing up to camp.
I didn't want to be. I'm glad you said it because I didn't want to be the one to be the asshole who hates the U.S.
Hey,
But I think this time,
I think the U.S. is the most talented team in CONCACAF, and they should have the most likely chance to make it the farthest. But considering all these other outside factors, the locker room and all this other stuff, when have you ever seen in any sport a team coming in this low going into a big tournament and be able to turn it around? It's always the team that's quietly making changes and quietly progressing. Like if you look at the Morocco team, this was a Morocco team that was slowly making moves and slowly playing well. So when it came to the World Cup, sure, everybody was surprised. But if you were following this Morocco team, you'd be like, okay, these players are playing well. These players are doing. I can't say that for the USA. This USA team is coming in at its lowest in like the past, 4 years since 2021. I mean, I just feel like I know while they have the most talent and the possibility to make it the farthest, I just don't see it because there's no way they have the mental fortitude to turn this ship around. There's no way. I just don't see. I don't care how many friendlies you have or whatever it might be. At the end of the day, these players just don't have it in them to do it right now. Potentially in the future, yeah, sure. But if they had a good year so far this year, sure, I'd feel a lot higher on them. But it just feels like Poch hasn't been able to understand this team, figure out this team. The depth is like really bad. It feels like they're losing players in positions that was once strong, and then now you're not so sure about. I just feel like there's way too many question marks. We don't know what's going on. Honestly, the reality is, I think this team is being set up to get upsetted. I think a worse team is going to upset this USA team, and it's going to be embarrassing. I genuinely believe this is going to be an embarrassing showing. I don't think they're going to perform as well as 2022. I think they're going to get absolutely cakewalked at home. I do believe they have the talent and the possibility. They will make it out of the group. And depending how things go, they can make it to the round of 16. But somewhere along that way, I'm thinking more so in the group stage, they're going to get upset. This team is just waiting to get upset. Like they're just waiting for it. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe it's Uzbekistan. Who knows?
oh my goodness, what a story that would be.
But then USA, they are at home and they tend to take care of business at home. But I think this is another level of pressure with the whole world watching on them. I just think, man, the only way this team has a great performance is if they rig this as bad as Donald Trump rigs his golf tournaments. Like that's like give him a little nudge, wink, wink to Johnny Infantino, and like that's the only way anything happens to me.
Yeah, like I said, I'm glad you said it because I didn't want to be too sour on it. They could absolutely get bounced from the group stage. Seeing an upset, I that's definitely on the cards as well. But what I noticed watching them is it's just like there's certain games where yes they may dominate possession, but it just seems like it's a struggle to unlock the defense. And there's a lot of teams like this in the world, but it's just a struggle for them. Nothing seems like it's ever really that fluid. And it's always a 90-minute battle just to lock them down. And they're one counter away from blowing all that hard work. So that's why I think this team is very susceptible to that upset, like Julian said, because of that, the way they play.
They don't have enough quality.
Yeah, exactly. And it's frustrating because if they were more cohesive, they have the talent, like you said, to make it to a round of 16, but it's just hard to imagine it because they don't play it just doesn't seem like you're watching a team, you're watching a collection of players who join up every once in a while from their national teams or whatever, or not national teams, from their clubs to play on the national team. I feel like that's the best way to describe it. You notice that these guys are not on the same team week in and week out. And that's what it feels like in terms of chemistry. So, yeah, I think my reality for the U.S. is getting out of the group and then losing their first knockout. I think that I will give them the benefit of the doubt and getting out of the group, but I think that any matchup that they have would be a tough one.
Yeah, I agree. I think round of 32 suits this team well. They have not came into this summer looking good. They have not come out of this summer looking good. If anything, it's looked a lot worse. The Gold Cup was just a stamp on that. The performance that they had, the team chemistry, the team build. A lot of people like to say this is the golden generation. This is the golden youth. But these guys are not living up to those names. And yet again, they're just disappointing over and over. And they've shown many times that they have talent, that they can win games. They can be competitive when it comes to CONCACAF. But when it comes to the world stage, they've just lacked that creativity. I don't think the last World Cup was an atrocity for this team, but it take a goal literally coming off of Christian Pulisic's nut sacks to win a game against Iran. So,
and we lost Will again. But I think he kind of has the same feelings that we all have. And yeah, but anyways, I do kind of want to, and I guess we'll end it here with our final predictions. I think Canada makes it out of the group, gets knocked out. I think USA, they're the hardest one to pick. I think they make it out of the group, and I think they're going to get, as long as the draw is favorable, I think they're going to make it to the round of 16. I have a hard time picking against them not to, considering that they're able to do it last World Cup, and that this is the same team. And if anything, the team got a little bit better technically. And then in terms of Mexico, I think Mexico, to me, is a lock for round of 16. I think they're going to get that. Obviously, it's not exactly the quinto partido that they wanted because of the new format. There's an extra game, but they're going to get to round 16, and who knows if it's a favorable matchup and they're playing at home. I think anything's possible, but Mexico is also a team that they can't. I feels like they can never get the upset. Like that's another team where I feel like they do. They have. I don't want to say they haven't. They definitely have. I mean, obviously in 2018, they had the big upset, but where they beat. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Mexico beat Germany in 2018?
They did 1-0. Chucky Lozano goal.
But yeah, overall, unless they can pull that magic again, that'd be great. But I don't know if they can. I don't know if they're as talented as that team. So. Yeah, man, that's kind of where I'm at. Will, we just kind of gave our final prediction on where we see each one of these teams.
Yeah, and then I'm going to say that Canada, I'm just going to say it. They're going to get, my prediction is they get bounced from the group. U.S., I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they make it out of their group, but have a tough matchup and lose in the first knockout match. And I think you've convinced me with some of your arguments. I do think that the home field advantage is going to play a big factor. So I'm going to agree with you and say that Mexico should make the round of 16. That's my prediction.
Yeah, listen, honestly, a lot of this depends, guys. You guys know, the people watching this show know. If you know ball, you know.
We don't even have groups yet.
Yeah, the World Cup draw has not even happened yet. We have to look. A lot of this still depends on the groups that are going to be up at hand. It's going to be interesting for all three teams right now. The stature that we've talked about, the development, the players, the coaches, and all of that being taken in hand. U.S., I'm going to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Donald Trump's going to be at the home games. You're going to have Gianni Infantino and him holding hands. It's going to be good, dude. Yeah. Listen, I think USA has. I think they have a round of 16 in them. I could see the guys getting up for them. Same for Mexico. Give a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I could see a round of 16 in this team. And then for Canada, I'll go round of 32 right now, but it is a toss up with those guys. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of our thoughts on the World Cup host nations. Well, obviously, we're going to get deeper into this as we get closer to the World Cup, as this year progresses. Obviously, the World Cup coming in just under a year. I think we're about 10 months away. So we're almost there, boys. I feel like time is flying. I feel like 2022 was like yesterday. I can't believe how much time has passed since then. But if you guys want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.